Hi guys, this is Michelle Bowler and welcome to the Waiting Warriors. Welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. As loved ones of first responders and military personnel, we often face life situations and challenges that many others don't experience. And while each of us and our experiences are unique, together we can learn from one another and become stronger in this journey of life. Now let's step out of mediocrity. It's time to thrive. I am so excited to be here. This is the first episode of the podcast, so welcome. I'm really excited. This is finally happening. I've been dreaming about this and working on this for a few months now, so it's fun that it's finally happening. The launch is going to be just in 5 days, and so I have done interviews leading up to this, but I wanted to sit down and record kind of an intro podcast for you guys. I wanted to introduce myself and my family and kind of explain how I got here and why I created the Waiting Warriors. So my husband has always had an interest or inkling towards the military. His mother has even shared an experience that she had that when he was just a little newborn, she was sitting and watching the news and just seeing everything that was happening with Desert Storm, I think, and just holding her little brand new baby boy and getting a distinct feeling that this little boy was going to experience a lot of these things that she was seeing on the news. And his whole life kind of reflected that he was very interested in the military. Both his grandpa and one of his uncles were in the military, and he, there's little pictures of him in little Army uniforms or the big ones, and he's just overflowing with the helmet and everything. And even as a teenager, one of his favorite things to do was make cute little videos with those little green Army guys, like the ones in Toy Story, the green and tan ones. And he would make videos with thousands of shots, just them charging up a hill. It's really funny. He always had an inkling towards the military and was fascinated and interested in it. And when he went up to college, he actually joined the ROTC class, not the program, but the class. And he was very interested in it. He talked to recruiters and was thinking about joining, and we are praying people. If you aren't religious, that's totally fine, but we personally are praying people. We're religious, and so he was praying about this, and he got the very distinct and real answer of no, you should not join the Army. And I believe that happened towards the beginning of the fall semester, and we actually met a few weeks later, which is funny because had he joined, he would have been gone and we wouldn't have dated. So we met in October, went on our first date in November, and then we're officially a couple, exclusive in December. And we just fell in love really quickly. He was amazing. Apparently he thought I was amazing, and we hit it off. We actually were officially dating the very first weekend in December. And the next weekend was the ROTC ball, which is funny because, so even though him being in the Army wasn't even on his radar anymore, I think it's cute and funny that the ROTC ball played such a big part in me falling in love with him and admitting that I was in love with him. It was really such a magical night. So we fell in love and got engaged just under a month later and got married in April. And I know that seems fast to a lot of people, but for us it was right. So while we had been dating, obviously the ROTC had come up. I had asked him if he was going to be in the military, if he wanted to be in the military, and he had told me his answer. But when we got married and had moved back up to school, I can't remember exactly when, but after a few months, the thought just kept coming to my mind that Austin should start thinking about this again, and we should start thinking about joining the military. That scared me a little bit, but like I had said, I had grown up in the Marine town, so I was familiar with the lifestyle, and it wasn't super intimidating to me for some reason. But at the same time, it's not like I was jumping up and down of, yeah, leave me for 6 months, we were just newly married. So I kind of was quiet about it for a while. And then I can't remember who brought it up first, but we were at a Relay for Life in the town and walking our laps and just talking about life. And for some reason, one of us brought it up, and it was one of those conversations of, oh, you've been thinking about this too. I guess we should really start considering this and looking into it. Oh, I remember what had happened. Just a few days before, the recruiters had called, and we had both been thinking about it personally, but not talking about it. And then the recruiters called, and so then that's what happened. My husband was like, hey, the recruiters called. And so we talked about it, and that evening, we decided that we were going to look into this. And so he ended up joining in July. Then a month later, we got pregnant, which was exciting. She was planned, but we got pregnant, and then he left for basic training in October. So he joined in July, went to basic in October. He was able to come home for Christmas for just under 2 weeks, and then he went back out and was there until March, and then our little girl was born in April. Shortly after our daughter was born, he actually, maybe it wasn't until the fall, but he joined the ROTC program. So then he became an officer while being in the reserves. Yeah, he's been in the reserves and going to school and working ever since. So he's been studying to become a chaplain, and we will go active in just a little bit, which will be exciting. So that's our background. I was trying to think of like a good introduction to the podcast, and I just kept on getting the feeling of telling why I am here. Oh, guys, I'm going to be like a blubbering mess by the end of this, so please forgive me. Hopefully you can still get the message I'm trying to convey. So when I was trying to think of why and think back to how this idea all started, this last summer, my husband was gone for the entire summer for a training on the other side of the country. We were living in Utah, and he had to go to South Carolina. It was mandatory bachelor status. I don't know if any of you in the military have gotten that kind of orders before, but we were not allowed to go because he wouldn't have much time for us anyways, and they didn't want any of the soldiers to be distracted by their families. So we had to stay. I had the 3 girls, so we FaceTimed every now and then, but he was gone for the whole summer for what's called BOLIC. It's basically just like basic chaplain training. So there was one day, it was a Sunday, I remember. We were about halfway through the summer, and it had been going okay. Not awesome, but okay. We had just gone on a really fun camping trip. For those of you who have ever been to Utah, Utah is beautiful and the nature is fantastic, and the mountains are like wonderful hikes and camping. And I grew up camping, so I was super happy. I went with some of my siblings who live up here, and we had, how many kids do we have? We had 8 kids and 6 because it was just me. We only have 5 adults. And we went up to this place, and we went in the middle of the week, so no one was there. It was just after 4th of July, and we had a great time camping. And one of the fun things that had happened is my sister-in-law had actually whittled sticks to be wands for all the little kids. And it was so funny because they were just running around, playing all the time, pretending to be wizards and saying funny spells. But when we got home, I was very clear with my girls that those sticks would be wands, but if they ever became anything else or they hit, then they would be taken away because it was wood and it would hurt. It was not like a soft thing. So we had a Sunday that was a little bit more difficult. The girls were just kind of rowdy and at church, just running all over the place, and that puts me on edge when I'm in a public setting and my kids are running around, because I don't like to hover, but there's only 2 arms and 3 little kids, and that can sometimes be overwhelming. So I was kind of already on edge, and we came home and had a relaxed hour or so, and then my sister was actually living with us for the summer, and she had some friends over who were singing some songs. And then Emma, for some reason, I don't remember how it started, but she just snapped and she hit me with the stick. And so I took it away and I put her in timeout, and it just turned into this huge temper tantrum. She was losing it. She was so mad that I had taken the stick away. She did not want me to throw it away. She was just so upset. And so when I opened the room to go and talk to her, she would sneak out and grab the stick. And then as I'm trying to take it from her, she would hit me some again. And like there were people in my house trying to practice this beautiful song, and my child is losing it and is hitting me. And then my younger 2 girls started crying too, and my oldest was just crazy angry. She was just throwing this huge temper tantrum, and I did not want to get hit again. I did not want to have a kid throwing a temper tantrum and having to deal with the other 2 kids all by myself. And I just sat down and I just knew, like, I just did not want to do this anymore. I did not want to do this alone anymore. And I'm pretty sure I locked Emma in her room until she stopped screaming and she was kicking the door. And I just remember sitting in my room, leaned back against, we had some built-in closets, and Mary, my next daughter, was on one side, and Anne, who was like not even a year old at the time, in the other arm. They were both just latching onto me because they could feel that, tension and everything going on. And I called Austin, my husband, and guys, I just completely lost it. Like, this was just not a good day and not a good situation. And it was just a situation where I wanted my husband home. And I'm pretty sure I couldn't even talk for the first minute or 2. And then I just blubbered out the story. Like, I'm crying now, but I was just blubbering, that ugly cry where you can barely talk. I just blubbered out the story of what had happened. And I was so low and so broken and so stuck. So darn tired of having to do it all. I don't remember all of what Austin said, but I mostly remember that he didn't try and fix it. He did such a good job. He didn't question our decision to be in the Army. He was just there, and he listened. He was sorry that the afternoon had sucked so badly, but most importantly, he didn't try to say that he knew how I was feeling, and he actually sweetly suggested that I call my friend who had been in very similar situations and had similar experiences, we thought, because she could have real empathy and maybe have a way that helped her through it. But guys, I never actually called her. She called me within a week. She called because they had just done their first move for the Army, and they had always lived on the west side of the country, and they were moved to the east side. And so this was their first move, and it was far away, and all the crap move things that could happen were happening. And her sweet husband suggested that she call me, and thank goodness that she did. Luckily, she wasn't as stubborn and prideful as I was. And we talked for about an hour the first phone call. We cried. We listened to each other. We rolled our eyes at all the kids and all the ways the Army does some things that were just annoying and affected us. And it was so good. I'm telling this story, this honestly really painful story, for 2 reasons. I want you guys to understand that I'm not some super high positive person who doesn't get touched by the negative emotions and the crap that happens with being in the Army. I really believe that we can thrive despite all the crazy, but a big way that we get to the point where we are thriving is because we are finding ways to make our situation better. We are talking to people who can say, that sucks. And it kind of feels better from them because you know they know. But you also see that they found a way to get out of it. That is why we're here. Because this podcast, listening to each other's stories, to each other's ways of coping, to each other's ways of taking care of ourselves, to the priorities that we've set, talking to each other in the Facebook group, that is how we thrive. Community on here and on the podcast, on the Facebook group, is so much more than just a hashtag or showing up for each other when life is sunny and cute. It's being there for each other when the skies are gray and drizzling, or even all the way to when it's just a full-on hurricane. That is why I started this podcast. That is why I want us to have a place online where we can talk to each other, where we can support each other, where we can cry with each other, where we can roll our eyes at the system, where we can comfort each other when our husbands are put in danger, where we can comfort each other when we're just so tired because our husbands have been gone, whether it's for 6 weeks on a training or for 24 hours straight because he's a policeman and has crazy shift work, or whatever it is. That's why we're here, because we are stronger together. And I know that now. And I had to learn it the really crappy way. And I really hope that if you are new to being a military wife or a firefighter's wife, any sort of first responder loved one, that you can kind of learn from my pains and just kind of start out right. I'm not saying that this podcast will be the be-all, end-all cure to the crappiness of the jobs that we have chosen to have our families in, but I really believe that we can turn this into a good, positive thing. That it can be hard, but we can still have awesome families and good family ties. Our families don't have to get broken up by this. Our kids can be happy and feel the love of their parents even though when they are far away. I really wholeheartedly believe that. And that's why I'm here. And I hope that that's why you're here. Because you will either believe it now or you'll grow to believe it. So I'm wiping these tears away, and I am just really excited to get to know you all, for you guys to hear the wonderful stories and experiences of these people that I am interviewing, and hopefully we can learn and grow with each other so we can not just survive, but we can thrive. So until next time, I'm Michelle Bowler. Bye, guys. Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I know I've been learning so much, so please share with any friends and family you know, whether you know someone who is a waiting warrior, or if you just think one episode can shed some light to friends and family about what you're going through. Share, and always remember, we're stronger together, and here we can thrive. Until next time, have an awesome day.